Chosen one, when God made you the standard of beauty this month, He did not hang a mirror in the sky so you could count how many eyes turn your way. He placed a plumb line in your hands so rooms could learn to stand straight again. Your radiance is not decoration, it is calibration. It arrives as a living measure in an age that forgot how to weigh what matters. The light on your face is an invitation to remember that beauty is not an accident of symmetry, but a covenant between spirit and body, presence and purpose, warmth and wisdom. You are not being exhibited, you are being entrusted. Feel how the world rearranges itself around a standard. Conversations that once chased spectacle begin to slow toward sincerity. The temperature of a crowded space drops from fever to focus when you enter, because your glow does not bargain. It does not demand to be fed by constant attention. It feeds others by offering clarity. The attention gathering this month is the side effect of a truer thing, the alignment between your inner vow and your outer form. High sexual energy, the bright current under your skin, is not a storm to outrun or a trophy to display. It is the raw vitality of being intensely alive in God. That vitality becomes beautiful because it is governed. It is a river with banks, a flame with a hearth, a song with time and key. People recognize the governance even if they cannot name it. They call it magnetism. Heaven calls it stewardship. Stand inside this calling like a lighthouse on bedrock. You do not need to chase ships, you keep the beam clean. Your countenance is a sermon that refuses to humiliate anyone as it tells the truth. Your posture says bodies are sacred without turning them into currency. Your pace says urgency is not the proof of love. Consistency is. Your voice says consent is not a hurdle, it is the road. In a culture that taught many to treat beauty as spectacle, your life reintroduces beauty as shelter. The measure you carry does not grade with shame, it grades with dignity. It asks of rooms, are we keeping people whole here? It asks of desires, what will this build if I bless it? It asks of opportunities, will truth cost more than applause in this house? When the measure is present, counterfeits become visible without a fight. This month, the gaze you meet will be varied, curious, hungry, reverent, suspicious. You do not owe any gaze a costume. You owe each gaze accuracy. Accuracy is the quiet of a soul that refuses to perform itself. It is the way you accept praise without renting your future to the giver. It is the way you decline invitations that would enlarge your image by shrinking your integrity. It is the way you dress as a person rather than a product, speak as a witness rather than a billboard, and hold space as a sanctuary rather than a stage. The standard you are does not shout. It keeps its lines true until crookedness corrects itself or walks away. Your high energy will try to convince you that more is the same as meaningful. Let wisdom set your measurements. More noise is not more music. More eyes are not more impact. More rooms are not more fruit. Beauty measured by heaven is depth made visible. Depth of peace under attention, depth of restraint under desire, depth of kindness under critique. Let others chase volume. You will cultivate resonance. Resonance is what remains when the day is over. The decision that kept someone's dignity intact, the boundary that kept tenderness sweet, the sentence that made repair cheaper. This is what standards produce. Environments where good things can repeat. The standard of beauty you embody will at times expose poverty. Not the kind counted in coins, but the kind taught by years of confusing approval with love. You will feel the ache in those who approach you, as if access could replace blessing. You will hear the tremor in jokes that try to make your presence safer by calling it shallow. Do not argue with the ache or the tremor. Let the measure do its work. Keep your no clean and your yes slow. Keep your humor free of cruelty and your affection free of debt. Keep your hours guarded enough that your glow remains a gift rather than a drain. In that steadiness, poverty begins to remember abundance without stealing it. At night, return the ruler to the one who lent it. Tell God where you wanted to be dazzling more than dependable. Tell Him where you stood straight and the room followed. Tell Him where fatigue asked you to discount your standards and where you refused the sale. Receive the recalibration that comes as silence, scripture, counsel, sleep. A standard must be checked to remain true. You are not failing when you pause, you are honoring what you carry. Wake again with the simplest vow a standard can make. I will be accurate today, and I will be kind. You were not made the standard so the world could orbit your image. You were made the standard so the world could find its own true lines again. Let beauty in your care make people safer, not smaller. Let it make truth gentler, not weaker. Let it make desire useful, not desperate. If anyone asks how a human being can be this luminous without becoming a spectacle, give them the answer that fits inside one breath. The light is governed, and God is the governor. Chosen ones, timing is the mercy that explains your month. God did not choose an arbitrary window for your radiance, or an accidental hour for your voltage. He looked at the map of hearts around you, the exhausted, the overexposed, the underseen, the secretly faithful, and he scheduled your brightness for a season when it would teach most and tempt least. The appointment is deliberate. You have been made the standard of beauty now so that beauty can do the work it was created to do. Reorient desire, restore dignity, reset culture, and remind communities that holiness and heat were never meant to be enemies. Consider the ecosystems that are shifting because you are present. Teams that learn to run on emergency are discovering the strength of rhythm because your pace refuses to baptize chaos as calling. Friends addicted to validation are discovering the relief of being believed without performance because your attention is steady enough to make theatrics unnecessary. Families that forgot the sound of consent are learning a new language around your table because your yes and no rhyme in a way children can imitate and elders can bless. This is what timing accomplishes when God appoints a standard. Change lands in places no campaign could reach. The high sexual energy you carry this month is not a wave to ride until it breaks. It is wind meant for sails you have already raised. Timing transforms power from spectacle into propulsion. Projects you postponed because courage felt expensive now find funding in your body's voltage. Conversations that required both tenderness and truth now find a climate to survive because your warmth and boundaries arrive together. Prayers that once bounced off ceilings find a seam in the weather because your faith is finally moving at the speed of your obedience. This is not luck. It is alignment between an inner season of readiness and an outer season of need. Ask why now and answer without superstition. Now, because attention is restless and needs a witness that doesn't consume it. Now, because younger eyes require a standard that does not teach them to spend their bodies as marketing. Now, because elders are weary of fads and are ready to partner with fruit. Now, because the rooms you inhabit are choosing their culture for the next few years, and your presence can tilt the vote toward mercy with a spine. Heaven is economical with glory. It arrives where it can be stewarded into structure. Your structures, habits, policies, liturgies of rest, reflexes of repair, are finally strong enough to host this brightness without leaking. Timing will test your motives the way light tests glass. You will be offered opportunities that call themselves urgent as they try to buy your standard for a discount. You will be praised in tones that mistake access for honor. You will be invited to multiply visibility at the cost of legibility. The appointed response is not a loud refusal, it is a measured one. Ask every offer the same calm questions. Will this enlarge truth or only my shadow? Will this leave people with more agency or just more appetite? Will this require me to trade accuracy for volume? Timing is protection when it trains your discernment to answer before your adrenaline does. Chosen ones, see how the calendar itself becomes liturgy when God claims a month. Sabbath stops being an optional kindness and becomes structural necessity because the glow is heavy and rest is how you carry it without curving. Meals stop being afterthoughts and become sacraments because nourishment keeps your discernment from being outsourced to caffeine and crisis. Early mornings stop being content factories and become quiet courts where you present yesterday's motives for review. These small obediences are not peripheral to your calling. They are the hinges that keep the door from swinging off in a storm. Timing will also expose the counterfeit narratives attached to beauty. Some will say you were granted favor to prove they were wrong about you. Others will say it arrived to prove they were right about themselves. Neither story belongs to this hour. This hour is not about vindication. It is about vocation. The standard you are is for the common good. You are not here to collect interest on old debts or to underwrite someone else's fantasy. You are here to build, to bless, to bind up, to begin again. Let that sentence decide your schedule. Let that sentence decide your exits. Let that sentence decide your audience. A standard that keeps choosing vocation over vindication becomes a landmark others can navigate by long after applause drifts. Notice how timing dignifies the mundane. The errands, the emails, the edits, the check-ins you once classified as lesser work are suddenly the precise places your beauty proves itself. A standard is most itself where nobody is filming, in the restraint that protects a story not yours to tell, in the follow-up that prevents harm from hardening into culture, in the meeting that ends 5 minutes early so everyone can return to their lives with oxygen. Grandeur may have introduced this month. Governance will write its legacy. There will be days when the appointment feels heavier than holy. On those days, borrow time from the future by remembering why God trusts you now. He trusts you because you have learned to say yes without becoming owned and to say no without becoming cold. He trusts you because you no longer need the room to be wrong for you to feel right. He trusts you because you have made repairs quickly enough that strength did not calcify into stubbornness. He trusts you because your beauty has become a corridor rather than a cul-de-sac. Let that remembrance lift your shoulders and soften your jaw. The measure you carry is not maintained by strain. It is maintained by fidelity. And when the month rounds its corner, do not clutch. Standards that panic at the thought of ordinary days were never standards. They were spectacles rehearsing an ending. You will not diminish when the intensity levels. You will distribute. What the appointment taught you becomes policy in your bones. Your body remembers how to house brightness without selling it. Your mouth remembers how to bless desire into usefulness. Your calendar remembers how to protect tenderness from becoming content. The standard remains, not because the hour is dramatic, but because your choices are dependable. Walk, chosen ones, with the reverent certainty of people right on time. Let your beauty keep measuring what should be kept and what should be mended. Let your high energy push good work forward rather than pull attention toward itself. Let your presence be the answer to rooms that prayed for a better climate and did not know how to ask. If anyone wonders how you became the standard of beauty without becoming a monument to yourself, offer the truth as plainly as daylight. The timing was God's, the energy was God's, and I gave both back by making them useful. Chosen one, beauty without roots is a bouquet in a hot car, impressive for a moment, wilting by the next intersection. God did not make you the standard of beauty this month so you would survive on vases and compliments. He planted you. He put your radiance in soil that remembers rain, in practices that remember why they exist, in covenants that keep time when applause forgets. What the world is calling your glow is actually your rootedness finally breaking the surface. The leaves are visible. The root system is the miracle. Roots are not romantic, yet they decide whether a storm turns you into debris or into shelter. They tangle with what nourishes and refuse what poisons. They learn the water table of your life, where prayer actually hydrates you, which friendships return you to proportion, which hours your mind can carry heavy thoughts without tipping into performance. This month, your high energy is not a sparkler, it is sap. It thickens your stamina, sweetens your responses, and makes your presence taste like something that took time to become itself. People who are starving for longevity will notice. They will think they are admiring your face, they are admiring your roots. Beauty with roots does not audition. It does not need a stage to be true. You have learned to pack radiance into ordinary gestures until ordinary becomes the real theater of transformation. You close a message when clarity has done its work instead of letting attention do laps for sport. You drink water before opinion because bodies that carry standards must carry them kindly. You choose the slower road that protects peace over the shortcut that purchases clout. None of this trends, all of it tells the truth. When truth stabilizes, beauty deepens. That is why rooms feel more breathable when you enter. Your roots have been filtering the air. Surface beauty waits for mirrors. Rooted beauty checks weather. You wake and ask, not do I look remarkable, but what climate will my presence create? You know that one bitter sentence can frost a table, that one warm pause can thaw a defensive heart, That one boundary positioned early can prevent a flood of regret from needing to be mopped later. The standard of beauty heaven handed you is meteorological, not cosmetic. It trains the atmosphere to stop punishing softness. It asks performance to take off its mask. It persuades fatigue that rest is not an insult. This is what it means to be planted. Your being there becomes a forecast of steadiness. Your high sexual energy participates in this rooting without becoming the tree. It is heat, yes, but it is the kind of heat that ripens fruit rather than scorches fields. It teaches your instincts to ask better questions before the moment asks for answers. Does this desire want to build a room or consume one? Does this invitation strengthen my trunk or ask me to uproot myself for a party that will be over by midnight? Does this attention multiply wisdom or merely multiply watchers? When the questions are honest, the answers become easy. Rooted beauty is not constantly at war with itself. It knows where to send the rain and where to shield the seedlings. Roots give you memory. They remember winters you survived and do not panic when the wind changes. They remember droughts and do not bargain away conviction for a cup of novelty. They remember storms you walked through without performing rescue for the sky's approval. So when this month's brightness attracts old patterns in new clothes, flattery wearing spirituality, urgency wearing romance, opportunity wearing entitlement, your roots touch them and recognize the temperature. You bless the lesson and decline the loop. Nothing in your refusal is dramatic. Roots rarely are. They simply hold. Beauty with roots is contagious. It invites other lives to plant themselves. You will notice colleagues reaching for rhythm instead of adrenaline, friends learning to like their own faces in quiet light, younger souls deciding that boundaries are not fences around love but trellises that help love climb. You did not preach a series to accomplish this. You watered the ground under your feet until what grew there became convincing. Standards are like that. They persuade by proof. To stay rooted while being watched, you must keep a portion of your garden fenced on purpose. Not secretive, sacred. A place where your questions can be clumsy and your hunger can be honest and your laughter does not need a caption. Beauty without such a plot becomes public property and soon grows thin from over-harvesting. The standard of beauty that lasts is the one that keeps Sabbath not only for schedules but for the soul. Hours when you are unremarkable on purpose so that your life can keep remarking on what matters when it matters. At night, ask the questions that keep roots growing instead of merely surviving. Where did I choose depth over drama? Where did I protect tenderness from becoming a performance? Where did I let my body be a person and not a product? Where did I spend energy on building more shade than spotlight? Where I failed, I repair. Where I succeeded, I give thanks without turning thanks into entitlement. Gratitude is water. Entitlement is salt. Roots know the difference. And if anyone insists on defining beauty as whatever interviews well, let your silence be a syllabus. Rootedness will finish the argument long after the microphones are put away. Next season, when the weather shifts and the landscape looks for what still stands, your branches will be humming with life. The standard will be obvious. It will not be your cheekbones, it will be your fruit. Chosen ones. This month you are not only being seen, you are being studied. Eyes are taking notes your ears cannot hear. People are clocking what your presence permits, what your yes produces, what your no prevents, what your laughter blesses, what your silence refuses to fund. Your life has been drafted into a curriculum that many around you desperately need. How to carry beauty without asking it to buy your soul. How to live with high energy without letting it rewrite your ethics. How to be visible without becoming edible. The test is not whether they will watch. You cannot stop the watching. The test is whether their watching will lead to wisdom or to appetite. You get a vote. To be studied without being consumed. Decide that your life is a classroom, not a cafeteria. In a cafeteria, people take what looks good and leave the mess for someone else. In a classroom, people are invited to learn how to cook. This means you narrate process where you once only showed outcomes. You name the unseen decisions that made the moment safe. Why you ended the meeting before fatigue turned honest people into sharp ones. Why you declined an invitation that would have multiplied your audience but halved your accuracy. Why you chose a slow conversation over a viral correction. Why you insisted that consent govern not only bodies but calendars and budgets. Those explanations are not self-defense, they are instruction. They teach the room that your standard is not magic, it is method. Being studied requires a posture that keeps your humanity intact. You are not an exhibit. Exhibits cannot close the door. Teachers can. You keep office hours in your life, the times when you are available for the learning of others and the times when your presence returns to God and the day's quiet chores. You model this boundary without bitterness. I'm finished for today, you say with a smile that is not a dare. We'll pick this up tomorrow, you say with a tone that believes tomorrow exists. People who have only known access as proof of love will feel the wobble in their bones. In time, the wobble steadies into respect. Respect is the antidote to consumption. Your high sexual energy, itself a brilliant teacher, must be given a syllabus. Energy without a syllabus roams the halls. Energy with a syllabus graduates. The syllabus you choose is dignity. Dignity says attraction is welcome and entitlement is not, that chemistry is acknowledged and consent is sovereign, that interest is a beginning and not a debt. You do not lecture this, you embody it. How you greet, how you decline, how you accept, how you end, all of it writes on the chalkboard of the moment. Students memorize what is repeated. Rehearse integrity until integrity becomes the only music anyone can dance to near you. There is a science to how attention moves in a room, and you have been set in the lab. Observe before you intervene. Notice whose voice shrinks when flattery grows loud. Notice which joke requires someone else's shame to land. Notice where the conversation accelerates past consent because urgency demands a hero. Then make gentle adjustments that teach physics a better law. Invite the quiet voice first. Redirect the joke to wonder instead of wit. Insert a pause that makes clarity cheap again. These are small calibrations, but they are the difference between a class and a circus. The world has enough circuses. You were made the standard so you could draft a better course. The studied life refuses to traffic in mystique. Mystique is easy to sell and hard to trust. Replace it with transparency that doesn't perform nakedness for applause. You can be clear about your process without live streaming your tenderness. You can tell the truth about cost without auctioning your tears. You can credit the community that steadies you without turning your friends into props. Transparency with discretion teaches by example that privacy is not the enemy of honesty. It is the habitat where honesty grows strong enough to help others. Some will still try to consume you. Consumption speaks three dialects. Flattery that offers honor in exchange for access, crisis that demands you abandon your standards to prove your care, and voyeurism that wants to be near the glow without accepting the homework of transformation. Answer all three with the same sentence, voiced in different ways. I will love you with what is sustainable. Sustainable love sets limits. Sustainable love offers resources instead of rescue. Sustainable love protects your capacity so your yes continues to mean yes tomorrow. A standard that lasts is a standard that refuses to be eaten. Study changes the student and the teacher. You will learn, under observation, where your edges are still learning to be gentle, and where your gentleness is still learning to be strong. You will notice which compliments your skin absorbs like medicine, and which it drinks like too much sugar. You will discover the stories your body tells when it is tired, the stories about needing to prove yourself, about needing to be needed, about the cost of saying no, and you will change those stories mid-sentence. The class will notice. They will see that the standard is not a marble statue but a living person being refined in public without making the refinement into a spectacle. That sight is worth entire libraries. Because you are a curriculum, write handouts people can carry, not documents, necessarily, but portable sentences and repeatable practices. Slow is still holy. Consent is how love breathes. Rest is how standards survive pressure. Clarity early is kindness later. Beauty serves better when it is not for sale. These lines travel in pockets and backpacks, into break rooms and bedrooms, onto buses and into boardrooms. They become the shared language of a culture learning to honor the body without commodifying it, and to honor power without worshiping it. There will be times when your students want a miracle instead of a method. They will ask for secrets. Give them habits. Tell them about the walk that keeps your anger from editing your emails, the glass of water that keeps your cravings honest, the scripture that returns your mouth to accuracy when your mood wants a stage, the friend who asks you the question you least want to hear and to whom you have promised an answer by sunset. Habits are how holiness enters the weekday. They are the unphotographed miracles that standards are built from. When you feel the ache of being watched, let compassion transform the ache into prayer. Pray for the one who stares because they have only known beauty as a staircase to fall down. Pray for the one who challenges you because they have only known standards as weapons. Pray for the one who leaves when you set a boundary because they have only known love as access on demand. These prayers are not tricks to keep you nice. They are the work that keeps your heart from hardening under the heat of attention. A hard heart always chooses performance over presence. A soft heart can keep teaching after the lights cool. And at day's end, when the classroom empties and the quiet returns, remember that the final grade is given in a place without cameras. Bring the lesson to the one who taught you first. Let him correct your notes. Let him circle the places you skipped steps because you were busy, and underline the places you were brave in small ways no one will commend. Let him remind you that being the standard of beauty is not an achievement but a trust, not a permanent title but a present assignment. Rest there. Tomorrow, the students will gather again, and you will open the door with the peace of a teacher who knows the syllabus by heart, to keep people whole, to keep truth clear, to keep desire useful, and to keep God near. Chosen one, if God made you the standard of beauty this month, He also handed you the blueprint for edges that bless. A standard without edges melts into mood. A standard with holy borders becomes a house where people can rest. Edges are not punishments, they are design. The river is only river because there are banks. Fire becomes hearth because there's a grate. Your high energy, bright and good, needs edges worthy of its goodness. When edges are clear, beauty stops being harvested and starts being hosted. Begin with the oldest edge, time. Time is the doorway through which all your yes and no must pass. Your calendar, kept honestly, preaches more than your captions ever could. You show the room what beauty honors by when you begin and when you end, whom you refuse to keep waiting, what you are unwilling to rush, and what you will not do tired. You sustain the glow by protecting the hours that feed it, sleep that returns your mercy to you, prayer that returns your name to you, quiet that returns your pace to you. People will call you disciplined as if it were deprivation. It is devotion. They will call you selective as if it were pride. It is precision. Beauty deteriorates in the hands of the hurried. Your edges slow the day until integrity can catch up. Set the edge of consent, not only around bodies but around expectations. The standard of beauty heaven has placed on you refuses the old confusion that closeness equals claim. You choose language that makes the room breathable. I'm grateful, and I'm not available for that. I'm honored, and that access isn't on the table. I'm interested, and will move at the speed of truth. These sentences may look small on paper, but they are load-bearing beams in actual rooms. They teach that attraction can be acknowledged without becoming entitlement, that admiration can be received without becoming ownership, that curiosity can be explored without becoming extraction. In your climate, consent becomes culture, and culture becomes rest. There is also the edge of tone. Your voice is a temperature. When you hold it steady, storms lose excuses. Speak as if you intend relationship after this conversation ends. Choose clarity before volume, proportion before performance, and specifics before stories rehearsed for applause. You do not wield your eloquence like a net. You use it like a handrail, something people can hold while they tell the truth. Under this tone, gossip feels expensive and honesty feels affordable. Those who came to consume the spectacle discover a kitchen instead, and kitchens are where homes survive winters. Your body too has edges that bless. You treat what you wear as a sentence, not a thesis, a way to say body as person, not product, presence as covenant, not content. Your step is unhurried, the opposite of a sale. Your gaze is a benediction rather than a hook. Your laugh is an invitation, never a bargain. None of this is performance. It is coherent living, an internal standard made legible. The body kept in peace becomes a translator that returns dignity to those who forgot how to speak it. High sexual energy without edges is a flood. With edges, it becomes irrigation. Give the current work worthy of its voltage. Direct it toward finishing what you begin, repairing what you postponed, building what you promised, tending what you lead. Let it sponsor generosity that does not purchase guilt, creativity that does not mortgage conscience, excellence that does not require cruelty. The secret here is triage. Not all invitations deserve the same amperage. You will learn to place some requests in the hour marked sacred, some in the hour marked mundane, and some in the bin marked not for me. This triage is not coldness. It is stewardship that keeps your yes luminous. Edges will be misunderstood by those discipled in chaos. Expect pushback from urgency that calls itself love, from flattery that calls itself honor, from appetite that calls itself destiny. Answer each with the same gentle sentence your life has earned the authority to speak. Love without edges is not safe. Then keep your pace. You do not owe an argument to every accusation. Fruit will do more convincing than explanations ever will.